So let's go back to race day. I mean, what was going through your mind as you got into the boat? I guess you'd blanked out the atrial fibrillation story. It was more, were you just focusing on the whistle or the shotgun?
Yeah, I think it had played on my mind a few times, particularly when people bring it up. Yeah. And obviously it's quite a nice story for media to sort of pick up on during the time. But I tried to just put it into that category of probabilities. And the way I approach racing in an Olympic final is whatever it is, we don't know who's going to win. Yes. So you go out, giving your absolute best. You want to be as confident as possible, and you want to have that belief that you've got the highest chance, the highest probability of winning on that day. And so for me, it was fitting AF into all those other categories, whether it's something as stupid as falling off your seat on the first stroke, or yes, whatever. It's one of those sort of things. So for me, it was quite good to rationalise it in that way. Yeah. And we'd had a great season. We'd won a number of the races. We got a world record. We had got beaten by the Australians about 6 weeks before the Olympics. They suddenly turned up and put in a good race and beat us twice over a weekend. And so we'd had quite a shock, but we responded really well to it. So we had gone away, looked at what we were doing wrong, and made some very significant changes about how we were going to beat these Aussies. And it was very clear that it was going to be a 2-horse race. Yes. So that was quite fun, because you had this sort of personal element to it. Often in 6-lane racing, it's just you and 5 other crews, and whether who comes second or third or who the main opposition is not so sort of personal in that regard. When you've got one other opposition, and particularly when they're sort of calling you names in the week leading up to the Olympics, it's actually quite a fun element to it, and I enjoyed that. Yeah. Particularly in the opposite boat, there was particularly one guy who's probably one of the best oarsmen there's ever been, and somewhat he was my opposite man, Drew Gin, and he was someone I wanted to specifically take down in that regard. So there were, for us, there were a lot of other motivational elements apart from it being an Olympic final, apart from it being in Britain and your home crowd. So there's an opportunity, and that makes you quite nervous and anxious. But actually, for Olympic finals day, I remember being a lot more calm and confident than I perhaps expected to be. Yes. Which meant you can almost enjoy the day. And I remember having the warm up. It was a great warm up. It was quite relaxed and calm in the boat. Often it's quite shaky and you're a bit nervous, and some of the bursts are a bit off, but actually everything went through quite smoothly. Then we turned and got on the starting pontoon, and just looking over all the other boats and feeling, looking forward to it. And that's such a great feeling, looking forward to something, not being afraid of what you're about to do, not being afraid of taking on the opposition. And I did feel confident. I genuinely thought we were going to win. And we just went out and executed what we've been planning. And sometimes you look back and you're actually quite surprised we actually pulled it off. But there's no surprise. We'd been training a long time for that. We'd looked at every aspect of our stroke, our race strategy and plan. Our start had been a little off during the heat and the semi, but we'd made some corrections to that, and we got it right in the final, and that set the tone for the rest of the race. We just got out ahead and kept a nose ahead, and then extended at the end, and ended up with this really, really exciting, really good finish.